Lord, we are grateful to be here, to be able to do the things that are of good welfare for this county. Lord, be with us and give us wisdom. We're always mindful of the sacrifice that your Son made upon the cross and the fact that we have eternal life through him. Be with us as we go forward the rest of this day and keep us safe. We ask this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
So the next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. I so move.
Can you add an
Second.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Under new business, can you add an item B to discuss consultants for review of the county's EOC? And Bob will go into more detail, me and Bob will.
So I'll make a motion that we add that to the agenda. Bob, will you go?
Second.
So we add that item to the agenda. Thank you.
Where's that going to go?
We're going to put it at, under new business, item B.
Under new business.
Okay, so then we go back to, can I get an approval for the agenda?
Second.
So moved. Recognition of the public. Have anyone that would like to speak? All right, so next we have approval of the minutes from May 16th.
So moved.
I agree. We approved the minutes from May. So the next item is the report of the committee chairman. I have no report. And then we have the report of the consultant. The floor is yours.
I'm just going to try to get them off. I'm just going to let you do that.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe I can do that quicker.
I didn't have that one.
Okay, I believe this was sent out with your agenda. You may have already looked through this, so I'm just going to hit the high spots. It's important to note that this report is through July because we're not finished with August yet, so we don't have those reports to put on here. So we are just one month into the new year in July, and obviously there's no large losses yet, thankfully. It hasn't been something so big it just immediately hit. So there's nothing there going into the next year. It's important to look at the bottom, just below that, about the stop loss fund, and that it's looks like it's going to increase about $20,000 a month. And again, what that is, a few years back, we did a 10-year study, and the trust has agreed that after moving $500,000 stop loss, that it just made more sense to start accruing those premium dollars in your own account and keep them and build a reserve specifically to do that yourself. And it looks like this year you're going to go over $1 million in that fund. So that's over $1 million that would have been in the pockets of an insurance company for which you would have got hardly anything back. So.
How many, you said a few years back, I mean, this is a terrific decision that someone made.
Right.
Have we made this, we compiled this over 3 years, 5 years, what is a few years back? I mean, it was a wonderful decision.
The actual study we did was a 10-year period of having stop loss.
You look back 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, and they do because
He's asking how many years. I believe this is our 4th year we're starting.
4th year.
I think we're starting our 4th year right now.
Wow.
It could be the 5th, but.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And this, to note, this is the net amount in there, so he's taken out any claims that would have been covered.
Yeah.
So that's.
I believe I'm correct that we have, since we did that, we have not had a claim go over, or maybe one slightly.
We might have had one, maybe a little bit.
But it still didn't get 6.
Historically, we've had very few.
2,500, 600. So that difference would have been paid out of this. I mean, this is reduced by whatever that was, so.
And I think the coverage was $1 million max anyway, wasn't it? So we've almost got the amount that was the max.
We're all
Well, the
afraid.
aggregate is, which we dropped a long time ago, there's actually two different kinds of stop loss for self-funded plans. There's specific and there's aggregate. And specific is just what it indicates. Each claim, each individual's claims on the plan, when it exceeds X dollars, stop loss will give you that money back above that cap. And that cap, when you stop, was $500,000. You get everything back over that, was premium for that. That reimburse $1 million if you don't have any coverage. So we dropped that quite a while back.
Yeah, this is fabulous for years, and thank you for explaining.
You almost got the aggregate.
I know, I see that.
Yeah.
Right.
And we took quite a bit of flack when that first happened, especially from the broker community, because,
It's a bit risky at the beginning,
well, yeah, but everything's a risk.
but
It's
if you have
just-
10 years of history,
Yeah.
you're solid.
I mean, it's based on numbers. It wasn't like I think they like it because they can't sell stop loss, which they make a 15-20% commission on. So it's big dollars to them, but we don't work for insurance companies. Insurance companies don't sign our checks. Y'all do. So we're only going to do what's in your best interest and the plan's best interest, which ultimately affects the employee. So that's why this has been such a good arrangement. We appreciate your trust. And
If you did have a huge claim that was reoccurring, the reinsurance generally layers it out the following year anyway, means they don't cover it. So really, it's very hard for us to come ahead on that reinsurance, almost impossible. Because if you get something that was year after year, we'd reset on the $500,000, it would be lasered, so it'd be disallowed anyway, almost always.
so now you're buying from yourself, paying yourself interest. Sounds like a good deal.
I think it's a good deal.
And again, this report, it's not gonna tell you a lot. It'll tell you everything about prior to July 1 of this year. With the graph because we like a linear look at this as well, because this goes back, these statistics go back to 2010, 2011. So this is a pretty good look at the trends of your plan. And there's been a couple of significant things that's happened on this graph. One is when you actually install the wellness benefits. That's when you started requiring certain things and managing chronic disease. We brought the clinics in and to be able to do that. And another significant thing was when the schools broke away from this plan on their own. And that was January 1 of 15. So since then, we have no idea how that plan's doing, or we don't do anything with that. We're not associated with that at all. Just the schools develop plans.
Who are considered classified employees as far as county?
We don't have that.
They don't have,
Okay, well,
that's just
notice that
a,
right there.
Just the schools have classified.
Yeah, I know they do.
they're certified.
The schools only had their classified employees over here. Their certified employees wasn't part of the plan, so they were just the non-teachers, or non-teaching staff, or non-certified. Yeah, I know what you're asking now. We didn't have all the schools here, we just had part of the schools here.
I just wondered who, since that little note was down there, I thought, no county had classified employees.
But that's referred to the education when they were here.
Okay, are there any questions on this report? I don't know if I mentioned that Brittany misses not being here. Believe it or not, misses missing a meeting, but she is taking some well-deserved time away, which is visiting with a friend out of town for a few days, and this was one of those days. So, I got an email with 14 reports and a bunch of emails, correspondences with folks. So if I'm missing something, just, you're not gonna embarrass me or whatever. Just call it to my attention and we'll figure it out. Okay? The other thing to report, other things to report on, is the ASA, or the Administrative Services Agreement, which is in layman's terms a contract between you and Blue Cross. In other words, when they process your claims, there's a charge for that. There's a charge built into that for the use of their networks, which lowers your costs and some other services. So that agreement has to be redone every year. And it is almost complete. I understand that it's been sent back to Blue Cross for 1 or 2 days.
I just sent it all to the department, so I'm ready to request information on it. And I appreciate it now with those guys.
Okay. Well, since y'all must have another meeting, was it appropriate for you to?
I generally sign with Bob because, and the committee approved several years ago if it was something like that for me to go ahead and sign it if it agrees with the rates. Right now, the only thing we've got is some of the terms legal. It doesn't want the terms or wants some term changes. It's not the rates. The rates agree as far as I recall. We'll verify the rates to the minutes, and then once the terms are done, the legal generally I will sign it. We can have the mayor sign it if you prefer, but either one. Sign on the county back. Person's having another meeting.
Yeah, I don't want to have another meeting. Is it possible that, I'm good with you signing it. If Bob is, I would just like to look at it at some point.
So basically what we'll
To
do,
see the change.
we'll verify the rates to what you guys approved. It's the same, I guess, terms we've had for years, just legal one of the few, they had a few issues with some of the terms, not about the way they were processed, but things like, I don't know, probably, if there was a dispute resolution, things of that nature, I think it was like maybe 5 or 6 points, is that correct?
All right, so.
Yeah, just point out, it's a 79-page document. Brittany's went through it with a fine-tooth comb. And,
He had very few issues with it, it was just, I think, a lot of dispute
I've got
resolution.
I'm good to approve that, you continue to approve it, and I just ask that after the fact you give us a short summary of what changed.
Okay, it'll be the rates, maybe.
Yeah, and little terms to be mentioned.
Or what's that, forward email that Jessica sent to us, the changes from that later, we can do that.
Yeah, just a summary.
We'll just send you the agreement with the signature, and the rates will be on there, and we can tell you those, and then, we'll send you email back and forth between legal and,
And then, yeah, I don't anticipate we would have any trouble with that. I so move.
Second.
And the other comment is on another 3-letter acronym, an EOC, which is an exclamation coverage. That needs to be looked at because there are things that happen, the government passes little changes or whatever. You need to make sure that when you send something to your employees, that here's what you're covered for. That there's not a gotcha in there that somebody missed, that's changed a little bit or whatever. And I understand all those, you have 4 of those. You have one for vision, one for dental, one for option 1 of your health, and one for option 2 of your health. So you got 4 EOCs. And it's my understanding vision, you say there was
There's one thing that we're working on to change it for health.
Jenna.
dental, okay. The other 3 are actually already
Okay.
right. And those are also rather large documents.
But that's one I want to discuss under B2 also.
Yeah, that's
Detail.
but this is what the employee goes to when they want to find out if something's covered or not covered.
And just a matter of procedure with the county. Do the employees all have a link these documents?
On the
Or on
website.
the website? And they're all notified, because
We have hard copies too.
Giving a hard copy when we
we
start.
have a new, part-time DSO, and I was just speaking to him in the hallway, and he had a hard time finding his benefits.
He's not eligible for it, you know.
He was concerned about the other lady that was working over there. She's, looking at some health insurance things. He's trying to help her. So he was just mentioning that it was hard to,
The lady that's
and I'm
full-time.
not trying to solve that problem, I'm just saying, I just wanna make sure it's available. and
We can check with her to make sure, yeah.
And not just her, just, everybody in general.
There's a couple of things. Brand new employees will receive the EOC. The EOC with any changes are on the website, and we usually send out emails when there is changes. And then number 3, there's the number on the back of the card for Blue Cross. And years ago, it was determined, which is probably the best practice, is if you've got a question about your claim or something, we always recommend that they call the number on the back of the card versus trying to go through us. Because what will happen, they'll go to us, we'll call the 1-800 number, and then we're passing secondhand information back and forth. So really, the two things we'll do is one on the EOC, and if she's got questions about a specific claim, we always recommend you call the number on the back of the card. Because I believe it just creates more confusion if we kind of pass through. Because basically what it is, we'll just call Blue Cross will call us, and we'll pass the information back and forth. And then a lot of times we even have trouble getting into their information. So it's really made to call the number on the back of the card. Yeah, we'll have Amy, if that's all right, Amy, contact her after this meeting.
And not all our employees have email addresses. So that's the way we're distributing the information isn't 100%.
We send it to the department.
Yeah. So they should let
They
their
should
employees
let them
know.
And the reason some of that issue exists is because we've got multiple emails from people, like Sheriff, I think, have run exchange service, if I'm not mistaken, that's part of it. So having multiple IT departments is part of it.
Just so we make sure everybody has it.
So we send it to the department heads, and then we still run into the issue, they don't always get passed.
I know, that's
Yeah.
what I'm having
There's
trouble
nothing-
with.
The only way we've really got to they're not involved in the clinics, they'll actually send emails, because they got, I've got an email, 3 phone calls already. So they do pretty good, I'll be honest, I've been on, but they've been really good trying to get a hold of me. I've just been out of town, and I got an email the other day that was really, told me what to do and how long I had, and so they send it out for the wellness, but as far as our EOC, we don't have a really good way to get it out other than through the email that we have and through the department, because we don't have a system-wide email we can send. We've asked IT. The issue is because some of them have their own exchange servers.
I'll see if I can
Over time.
talk to that department. It's just a legal requirement that I want to make Bob saying that, we need to make sure everybody knows, and I just want to make sure everybody knows.
Well, it's just a little, forgive me for doing this, but a little background to fill in. Before we had the ability to do that online, it was always a practice, you'd have booklets printed up, and you'd give a booklet to an employee, say, here's your coverages, okay? And some well-meaning employees says, oh, great, fine, they go in their work truck and they throw it over the back seat, and then they have a problem and they go looking for a book, and they find a book, but they don't bother to look at the date, and they go through, well, this is covered, and you get into the issue. So we don't have near that problem now, since we keep an up-to-date copy right there on the internet, but it's important that the employees understand, if you're looking at a book, look at the date. That's critical, okay? Slightest change could cause a problem for them. The second piece of that is, you hand them a book, and you also hand them another book, which said, these are all the doctors and hospitals in your network. That changes daily.
There's a link for that.
These people just,
I recommend they call the 1-800 number, even though you look at the EOC, you look at your network, before you do any procedure, and your doctors, a lot of them are required to get prior approval on certain things, so
right,
your best practice is to call the 1-800 number on the back of your Blue Cross Blue Shield card.
yes. Or
They have operators there, they can answer your questions, they can tell you if something needs to be pre-authorized, they can go into a lot more detail than even what's on your EOC.
Yeah. What I do is I tell an employee, if I'm brought into the conversation, I say, you need to contact the insurance company to verify your doctor is in there, and then, when you get to the doctor on your appointment, ask them if they're still in the network. It happens.
ask Blue Cross if it requires prior authorization or anything and make sure they have it.
Right.
Before they decide to move on and don't have, because on Blue Cross, they can look up our plan pretty easy once you call. They have people there and they can tell you what's covered, if there's prior authorization, and they can tell you if the prior authorization's even been done. So the best policy, if you've got any questions, to call the 1-800 number on the back of the Blue Cross Blue Shield card.
I would fail if I didn't end with telling you this, because it's happened several times through the years. There will come a situation when an employee feels like, for whatever circumstance, although your plan doesn't cover it, they feel like it needs to be covered. Well, if you are self-funded, you can do that. If you vote to do it, you can vote to cover it. We never agree with that, because it sets up a precedent.
So if you had a significant amount of coverage, you suddenly got an unfunded cost through there. Going to eat your reserves or end up in a deficit and have to deal with it next year. You can do that as self-insured. Now, if you're fully insured, Blue Cross would have an issue with it.
Right, yeah.
Because they've already
Not gonna happen. So I just wanted to point those things out,
Thank you.
because they're really critical. That's me, I'm done.
Excellent. Thank you. That was very informative. 1-to-1?
Ashley and Ryan are traveling today for work, so it's just me. We'll just go over, I left these out. And you can see the clinic site usage year to date, which would really be for July, or through June. Schaefer Clinic was the top used, and there were 194 for behavioral health. The top clinic visits were walk-ins, the 329, as well as telehealth, and then going down from there. Patient satisfaction, quarter 1 was 99.28, and quarter 2 was 97.90. And then the wellness part, that shows the 2022 compliance, so 394 employees and 180 spouses. So far for 2023, we've had 101 physical uploads, 37 of those are compliant, and we are uploading those daily.
I'm sorry, what is an upload?
So you can go into our clinic to actually do the full annual physical, and we upload those biometrics into our wellness portal.
Okay.
We did the HRA events last week, so you also see those numbers, 2022 numbers compared to this year. We can tell that more people are taking advantage of the annual physicals in clinic, but we still had a very large turnout, which is great, of 292 for the whole week. On the next page, this is just what was sent to everybody for the wellness plan. The deadline for the annual physicals is September 30th, and then they have to do the health coaching based on the benchmark if missed. So far, as of yesterday, there are 82 in-clinic annual physicals scheduled. So 57 are employees and 25 are spouses. That does not include any outside provider visits that are doing annual physicals. The next one is text care. So we launched this in January with the Board of Education. Basically, they can text the 855 number from their cell phone, do med refills, sick visits. From that visit, if the provider deems it necessary to be a face-to-face, they can turn it into basically a FaceTime call. We have succeeded with this, and it is only getting busier. There's 24/7 providers on for text care, so 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. The monthly fee for that for the Board of Education would be $70 a month.
Per person?
No, I think it's just
$70. I can verify that, but I'm almost positive it's only 70 because I think
That
we pay.
seems very cheap.
Is that just the fee for the software?
That is the fee for the software.
Not the people answering.
Okay, not right here.
Right, no, but those probably cut down in regular business.
Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna way out on that for you.
So if that's something that you guys would be interested in, you do not have to make a decision today, just let us know. We can start. We actually probably have reached out to some government. Did you get a text message? No? Okay. So our clinics as well are, so if it's a new patient or if it's a sports physical or anything like that, we're sending them a text message with the paperwork. They can go ahead and complete it and send it directly back to us. So that kind of saves time as well in clinic. So everybody's not sitting there filling out paperwork.
So what does it cost the county to do the text messaging? Is it $70 a month too?
Yeah, I think it's, for the government, it's $70. It would be $70 a month, because I think our staffing and everything is already included as far as passive and stuff.
Does that mean the schools are paying $500?
Yes, the schools pay the greater amount. The y'all are split, right?
And where's the 500, what's the 500 that cost, speaking of?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's,
Oh, right here, this one.
if it's $500, then the government's paying the 84%, and then,
Whether we pay the smaller percentage.
right, y'all
Yeah, they
pay.
pay 86.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the monthly fee for us would be $70, and theirs is the $5.
The schools have already voted to do that.
Yes, we started with the Board of Education in January, kind of did them as a test run to make sure that everything.
So right now, our employees, that non-school board, they're sick, they don't have access to the number. They would just do a walk-in the next morning.
They can do a walk-in, they can call, they can book online, they can do telehealth.
So they, this is just adding.
This is an additional feature.
Adding, so they could call, will they get somebody if they call, it's midnight and they call?
Yeah, we have 24/7 telehealth here.
So they can call. When they do this text, I understand it, it's $70 for us for software. Is there an additional charge for them? Is there any additional
No.
charge? No, that's just it, we're just adding a feature for $70, that's
Right.
really reasonable.
Others pass through staffing.
Yeah, because the staffing is already passed through, we already have the staff available. So,
We will be charged for the additional staff time.
yeah,
If there's
Okay,
one.
If
that's
there's
my
any-
question.
Yeah.
But we're already charged if I call, if I pick up the phone and call, then I
Exactly.
get a charge anyway.
right.
So if you use this instead of going in, then you're gonna have less staff time in the clinics, but you'll have more staff time on this, so it's probably not a significant increase when you
Right.
wait to across.
Right.
If you're doing text versus going in, it's maybe cheaper than online.
Or opposed to calling on the phone, because they can do that, call,
We're gonna have the staff available regardless.
yeah. All right. Bob, discussion, what do you thought?
What's your picture of that? The X-ray.
Okay, so, X-ray, we started building this out. It is only gonna be at Ellis, which is in Hendersonville. For right now, we gotta see how busy we're gonna be with X-rays, but the savings versus sending someone to Premier Radiology, to be able to do X-rays on site. Everything has been completed, we're waiting on Kelly X-ray to come out and actually install the equipment. We've already started this to the Board of Education. We've already purchased all of the equipment, there's the tax exempt, so we got that the equipment itself tax exempt, so that saves about $7,000. So that, we're hoping to open up, not really sure. So they're gonna install next week, and then we've gotta trying to find an X-ray tech to be able to do that. It's been difficult, but we are working very hard to get someone hired.
If you're gonna do the text, you guys agree, you might wanna do a motion and vote on it though.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, you probably need to do an actual physical motion and vote on it. For the texting, if you wanna move
For
forward.
discussion, Bob, do you want more time to think about texting, or we'll make a, discuss it and decide?
Doesn't seem like that legal cost, at least to us, $70. Is that a month or a year?
A month. With, Board of Ed being on, have you had a good response from their employees? Are they, how much are they using it?
I could get you exact numbers, but it is used, and I will say, like, with school teachers and stuff, if you think, like, we're, since it's really back in school, it's picked up a lot more, because they're in the classroom, they want to tag panic, a medication refill, it's been quite a hit. I could get you exact numbers, because we do run those as well.
My thought is if they're doing the text where they're refilling the medication versus a full-blown appointment, in the long run, may save us a little bit there. Because right now, for refills, they're doing full-blown appointments, I think.
Correct, you have to have an appointment for a med refill, however, with this, you would not, we still are gonna require people, you can't just constantly get your meds refilled over text messages, I mean, it's just not good patient care. But if it's just like a 3-month refill, then we can do that.
I like that idea, and it's very reasonable. If it turns out that we find that the employees don't use it, can we stop?
Yes.
Anytime. Yeah. I motion that we agree to, the text, adding the text feature. With the X-ray, it seems like I recall we talked about that in the past. Did we decide to go with that last time? I believe we voted on this.
So you got the refills.
Yeah, I thought so. I just want to make sure that's covered.
What it was like.
You're just updating us.
Yeah, I was just updating on.
I just wanted to double check. I thought we had discussed
Yeah,
that.
it was $11,800 y'all through the last time.
I thought so. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The report of the finance director.
We are still in the process of closing our books. They will be closed by August 31st, but we have preliminary financials right now. Looking at the end of the year, both of the funds, especially the health, picked up a fairly significant amount of reserves. As we're saying, it appears the plan's working well and smoothly at this point. And then, based on July's preliminary, it looks like we're following the same trend. Looks like a 1% increase in the premiums was definitely adequate at this point. It's a really small increase, but it seems like it was adequate based on our year end in the first month of July. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. We have no items under old business. We move to new business. The first item is Gallagher Business Associate Agreement.
This was sent down for me to sign from HR. Gallagher, a couple years ago, I believe, became our, what's it called, for, broker for, US Able. But I don't believe it ever went to this board, so when they sent it down for me to sign, my recommendation is sent to the board and let everybody discuss kind of how we got here and I believe I had Miss Allison to, email Gallagher, but we did it on kind of a late, a quick notice, but I'm sorry. So the lady that's actually our representative out of town, so I recommend we defer this to, next meeting. Let them come down and discuss the whole situation with you guys.
What are they broken for?
It's for our optional, products for US Able. Like, if you go and buy an optional additional amount of life or, emergency room or cancer policy, they were the ones that were doing or they still are doing their vision, and then they were charging us a fee to do the vision, but I believe the fee disappeared and they became the broker for US Able. They sent it down for me to sign, but since it never really completely went through the committee, I wasn't comfortable signing. It came through HR, and then HR sent it to me. And it's been sitting with me for quite a while now. So I think it's something really the committee probably needs to take up and talk to Gallagher, what they're offering and everything else. I can give you the long-term kind of what happened. Several years back, we were giving, was it $200, Bob, for vision? when the Affordable Care Act came about, it was determined that giving the $200 from Blue Cross determined that, and I think we were in concurrence with them, that the $200 could not be administered or done that way. And I think I got a quote through Blue Cross Blue Shield for USA when nobody wanted the vision insurance. So at that time, we lost vision, was probably for a period of maybe 3, 4, 5 years. It was several years. Several years later, Mr. Holt brought back, I think they weren't Gallagher at the time, they were called Five brought back as consultant to look at our vision insurance. They brought back, I think it was very similar to the original one, though. The board voted at the time for them, I believe, to be a consultant and to do the vision, if I recall properly, but I haven't looked at the minutes. Later, they were actually became the broker for USAble and no longer became the consultant. But from the consultant to the broker, I don't know if that ever went through this board. I think it may have just went through the mayor's office. So when it was sent down from HR for me to sign the broker agreement, that's been sitting in my office for several months, and my best determination was to send it down to the convention and let them do it.
So I would like to defer it to the next meeting if Commissioner Brown in agreement, but I'd also like to hear if we have any options for any competitors.
You mean for the vision?
Yeah, for the vision thing.
Well, right now we're getting it through USA when it is an exact same bill rolled up into our health insurance. So I wouldn't recommend breaking those
Don't
apart.
break it apart.
For one, it's gonna change people's coverage, and number two, if we make a whole separate policy, then right now we've got, how many, about 400 employees? So we would.
I don't wanna disrupt any.
Well, we would basically need,
No,
we'd probably end up with like a quarter of an employee, of a staff member to actually reconcile before.
Can we look ahead at some point in the future when that it wouldn't cause a break?
I would.
See if we're doing the right thing.
I wouldn't recommend breaking it. I would recommend looking at your coverages. Because if you break it into separate, you're gonna break it completely away from the Blue Cross Blue Shield, and then you're gonna have a different card. You're gonna have another set of whole bills with like 400 people on it to reconcile, which is costing the county. And you're gonna end up with the people that are currently on there. If anything, I would probably visit the coverage limits, because it actually flows through Blue Cross Blue Shield through USA, I think, Blue Shield, or is it just flow directly through Blue Cross? I think it flows directly through Blue Cross. And it is we, as far as employees can tell, it's one plan because we charge them one premium, but Blue Cross treats it as two different plans. So you do have a lot of flexibility, but the only reason I say it's the best policy for us to keep them together is because right now it ends up with one bill, which is much simpler. We pay them one amount. Not that we're gonna have a whole new set of, actually a whole new 2 sets of bills up there to deal with. And their biggest group too. That was one of the reasons we were foreseeing it that way.
I think it would be important for the trust to know if it's necessary to have a broker with USA, or if you can purchase that direct.
We were doing it directly at one time, had no broker. And they gave up their consulting fees when they became the broker. But, when I can get Amy, when we go back to the minutes, I don't remember that ever going through this committee. That's why when it was sent down for me to sign that, I didn't sign off on that. And I could just be mistaken. We'll get her to go back and look at the whole minutes.
So as broker, they're looking at all different types of.
They get a percentage fee off of USA, but they offer some services as far as helping employees if they have questions, but I don't think they're utilized much.
I don't think we utilize that now. We use them a lot for questions for 125.
And stuff like that, so we do use them. To be honest, we use Gallagher. USAble, we used to ask them questions, but they're not really equipped to do that, so Gallagher, which is our brokers, we ask them more on Section 125
They're more
questions.
consulting.
But they're doing it for the fees as being a broker for, USAble. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong or inappropriate or anything wrong with what we're doing. I'm just saying I don't want to move forward till I'm sure the board's approved in some way.
So I motion that we defer it, and I'd like to maybe come by and understand more the benefits, so that when they do present, I'll understand more the financial.
Other than the vision, the part of the benefit, they're dealing with the vision, which is offered with their health, and then they're dealing with the optional things that we offer, which would be like your cancer, emergency room, short-term disability. I'm trying to think of you. We've got a whole lot of them.
And we just sit down for a little while.
But that's what I'm saying, if we can bring, write it, but I'd like to have the representative here to kind of describe what they're
Yeah.
giving to you for the fees and make sure the board has actually approved it.
Okay. So I think we, motion and approved it, agree with that. And so the next item under new business is, adding item B for the EOC discussion.
I can talk about what I think we need, and then Bob can go into more details. But basically, and make sure I'm not telling them incorrectly, Bob, there's one thing that we need to do, it's about $6,000 to $7,000, because we have to file it with the feds, and it needs to be filed at this point. And it's basically doing a comparison with their mental health versus our other health coverage to make sure they're comparative. Is that the best way to put it? It needs to be done as quickly as possible. We need to go ahead and contract out with the group. What I would like to also see is that we hire them as an optional, and we can bring you back the price where we sign that portion on, is for them to review the complete EOC for option 1 and 2 for health. I'm not as much worried about dental at this point or vision, because they're not covering the same scrutiny as your health. But the health itself, I would like to see the EOC to actually have somebody that specializes in this to look at our EOC. If we were fully insured, we would have Blue Cross Blue Shield, who would basically provide us an EOC. But with us being self-insured, we create our own EOC. It's been created over many years. I've worked on it several years, Ms. Dennon did, people before me, Bob, everybody's been involved in it. At this point, somebody that specializes in it, that's been running this many years, I think would be very advantageous on the plan for somebody to look at it. Make sure we're not in non-compliant anywhere, but, ACA or anything.
Well, this actually came out of the passage of the Consolidated Appropriations Act by Congress, which covers a lot of stuff, but this is one of them. And, little background, Leo was looking at this. We had gotten a quote from FIA, it's the legal group that does this work, and given that to Leo. Leo was looking at, and I didn't completely understand this, she was looking at Sumner County being able to opt out of this. I'm not really sure. I think getting some legal advice would be good before I think I can opt out and then do it. So I think if you have that report from a legal source, then you have, a foundation to make your decisions. I need to speak to FIA, the group. We have no connection with them. We are not paid anything for your doing this. All of those will be between you and them, as far as invoicing or whatever. They do not give us whatever, take us to dinner in Boston. But the reason we recommend them is because they are highly recommended by the Self-Insured Institute of America, which is the leading group in the United States. I've served on some of that organization's boards and so forth, and I've been able to see these people's work product and hear testimonials from other people who have used them. And they're very thorough. They've done the work for some of our other municipal clients as well. So that's why we recommend them. It gets down to the actual law is dealing with a thing called NPTL, which is non-quantitative treatment limitations. There are certain things in a plan that are implied or general, dealing with mental health, where over on the medical and surgical side, it's very specific on limitations. So this is to take subjective matter and give you an opinion about plan changes that may need to be made to your plan to make it compliant. And then that report that they produce, you file with the government, you're done. You know that your plan is, you're not going to get a surprise registered letter in the mail.
That's the one at $6,000 or $7,000 that we're 99.9% sure we have to do unless we, some way can opt out we're not aware of.
And
But-
just to restate, we haven't done it in a long time, we're gonna do it, and we won't need to do this again until the law changes, maybe tomorrow, but,
Unless you make major changes to your.
and we're anticipating $5,000-6,000.
Well, the last time they quoted it was 6,
Yeah,
so it's like everything else in the
It'll be a little bit
last
more.
4 years is coming up, so we would anticipate some higher number than that, but, and like Dave suggests, what we would ask them is, okay, we want to do this, but we want an option for you to review both our option 1, option 2 medical, EOC, so we can make sure there's not something else hiding out there in a period or a comma or something else that could cause trouble.
And give us
And then you can do that or not do that piece.
and give us recommended changes to comply with whatever we make. My knowledge, never looked at it. And if you're fully insured, you don't have this issue, but we're a self-insured plan. We create our own EOC, or the board does. So this is a self-created EOC over many years with many federal changes over the same time period and moving pieces. I think it would be very advantageous to hire a group that specializes in that and look at it at this point versus everybody else guessing. The first one, I think it would be very advantageous to bring to where we can move ahead, and then the other one authorized maybe me and Bob to go out and get a quote on the other portion, the optional portion. And then,
I don't have any discussion, you all.
No, I mean, I feel that getting somebody else to comment on this that is in the business is a whole lot better than just sitting there. Yeah, that's what you got, yeah.
I so move.
So, is that,
are you moving to go ahead and retain them for the required portion, you get the quote for the second portion, or you go ahead and do all of which portion?
Do you feel like, I mean, we haven't done it for a long time, so it's not urgent, we can go ahead and get a quote for the second one and bring it back next time.
I think,
And then see how the first piece flows through.
I think go ahead and authorize us to get the first place
Yeah.
based upon, they told us 6,000 should be less than 10, I would dare say. By any means, if it's over 10, I think just have a Bob and us to email you guys and make sure. But, just authorize us to do that and then get quotes on the remaining portion to bring back. But I think it's very advantageous on the option to bring it back to you, let you look at it, and I think you probably need to go ahead and do it unless it's very for item.
All right, so appropriate up to 10,000 to get the first piece started, and then, approve for them to go out and get quotes for option 1 and
is that your motion?
2. I so move.
Second.
I promise not to tell them you did that.
We'll get the quote for that much.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm asking for 6.
Oh, yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
Go online and read your minutes, huh?
That's okay, well, they're very diligent, I appreciate their diligence.
If they managed to do that.
Brings up off on the checking things on Wednesday, so, not Wednesday. Internet.
So, does anyone else have any items to add? Mr. Mayor, do you have anything? Excellent. Nobody has anything else? I we adjourn.
Second.
Good to see you, Mayor.